Welcome back, future homeowners. Here we are today with Chapter 3 and myself, Daniel Byard, Team Ringgold, Keller Williams, One Legacy Partners here in Topeka, Kansas. Today we're talking about being financially ready to purchase a home, and that includes a couple of very important steps on your journey to buying your next home. First and foremost, we're going to talk about credit score and how that plays a factor in what you're capable of buying. Your credit score allows the banks to see your credit history, how ready you are or how responsible you are to make a purchase that requires a loan. And it dives into a bunch of things: late payment, missed payments, opens lines of credit, closed lines of credit. All of those things reflect and create a number called your credit score. And how do the banks use that credit score? Well, very simply, they use it with a mathematical equation to determine how much you're allowed per the bank to buy. If you have a really high credit score, they're going to say that you're going to get a better interest rate, but it doesn't determine what that total amount is by itself. They also have to look at a couple of other things, such as your debt to income ratio. That's the number of how much money you make every month versus how much money you spend on your active debts every month. That, along with your bank history, your tax returns, and your pay stubs, goes into this equation. And then you can get what's called a pre-approval. We've all heard the term. Not everybody knows how you get to it. And that's the process. The bank looks at all that information and says, hey, based on your bank statements, your pay stubs, your tax returns, your debt to income ratio, and your credit score, we now feel that this number, this $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 number is how much money the bank can safely loan you that we feel you'll be able to make a payment on every month. Alternatively, you can tell the bank, hey, I make X amount of money a month and I pay roughly X amount a month. And they can use that information as well, but then what they're going to give you is called a pre-qualification. That pre-qualification is just a statement that says, hey, based on what the client has provided to us, we at the bank believe we could lend X amount, that $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. But with a pre-qualification, the bank still needs you at some point before an offer really should be accepted or shortly after, so they can process that loan application. They need you to provide those other documents. Now, you may never get an actual pre-approval at that point. You may just have that pre-qualification and a loan approval, but that all depends on how close your guesses were to how much money you make and how much debt you have. But if you don't know what's on your credit report, you may not know what that debt actually is. So I recommend everybody who every year go out and look at their free credit reports from Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. You can go straight to their websites, get that information, pull it down, and that way you can dispute any irresponsible marks that may be on there from a third party or something that went to debt collections that's been paid off. You can dispute those things and get that credit score raised so that you may be able to buy more. Saying that you can buy more doesn't mean that you should. It is always my recommendation that you should never buy at the very top end of what your pre-approval allows you to. Let's say, for instance, it's $250,000. The bank says, hey, we believe we can lend you up to $250,000 to buy your next home. Well, if you do that, you may very well find yourself in a situation called house poor. What is house poor? Simply put, it's where you can afford your house, but you can't afford Cheerios. You can't afford milk because you can't afford anything other than your house. And that's not a good place to be. I always recommend looking at it, taking your budget into consideration, and figuring out what would be comfortable for you to purchase. So let's say you're pre-approved to $250,000, but you do the math, and you and your lender and your realtor sit down and do the math and figure out, hey, $180,000 is really the top of where I want to spend. So let's look at houses that are less than that, or roughly in that neighborhood. But we probably want to rule out anything $225,000 or above, because that's going to be way more than what you want to spend. Yes, you can absolutely do a couple of different things to change that, but that's for another video. So how about I catch you guys next time in episode 4 of your journey to buying your next home.